John, how are you? Hey, listen, it's the bank. We were able to pre-approve you for that loan you were looking for. No need to thank me. Thank me once you close on that house. But I do want to let you know, based on the fact that you have less than perfect or really even stellar credit, you're gonna pay us about $80,000 extra in interest over the course of the loan. What you can do about it? Well, here's what you can do about it. I just saw that John Liang released a new video. Completely free to watch. Take a look at that and let me know if you have any questions. Hey, listen, let me get this document over to you. All right. Yeah, you take it easy. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And for those of you that are new viewers, welcome. My name is John, and this is a channel that I dedicate to bringing you all of life's personal finance cheat codes. This video, I'm gonna give you the 5 key steps on exactly how you can get a perfect 850 credit score. The importance of having a good credit score is that it could cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional interest. 2 really quick housekeeping tips. First one is, do you actually need an 850? It kind of goes against the whole topic of this video, but I wanna say most folks, if not all, don't actually need an 850. When it comes to getting better interest rates for loans, there's actually a cutoff in which having a better score does not necessarily give you a lower rate. Typically, that's around a credit score of about 760. Some banks will go as low as 740, meaning the person with the 760 is typically getting the same interest rate as the person with an 850. The reason why someone might be interested in an 850, by having a score well above 760, you hedge and you also have some assurance that if your credit were to dip 10, 20, or even 50 points, you are still going to be qualified for the best interest rate. Second housekeeping tip, if you don't already today, get some sort of service where you can use to monitor your own credit profile. My personal favorite, and this is not a sponsored post, this is something that I've always used, is Credit Karma. CreditKarma.com is great. You log on, make an account, you're gonna get a credit report from TransUnion as well as Equifax. So now you can see what most of the banks will see when you go and apply for credit cards. In addition, if there's anything erroneous or wrong or missing or incorrect on that, you can always go ahead and call up the credit bureaus and try to dispute it. The other resource I recommend is Experian to get your Experian report. And if you really want a FICO score, banks such as Chase Bank, Discover, Citi, as well as Bank of America, just to name a couple, when you open a credit card with them, they will give you a monthly FICO score so that you can track your score. With the 2 housekeeping points out of the way, let's dive right into it. 5 steps to a perfect 850 credit score. Actually, I know I promised we would start with step 1. Step 0, so I guess technically 6 steps. Step 0, what I'm gonna be talking about largely in this video is approaching it from an angle of using credit cards and making payments and everything against a credit card. Now, you can and you should use this practice against any type of loan or any sort of debt obligation. So that includes things like rent payments, utility payments, not just credit cards, but I'm gonna approach it through the lens of a credit card because I think that's one of the easiest and honestly most powerful ways to build credit. So step 0 is open some sort of credit card or get yourself familiar with a credit card you may be interested in. Step 1, once you have that credit card, make sure you make your payments on time. This is one of the most important factors as it comes to building good credit. Making payments on time accounts for 35% of your credit score. And when it comes to making payments on time, you typically have about a 28 to 30 day window in which you are able to make the payment. Meaning if you're only late by 1 or 2 days after your due date, it actually doesn't negatively impact your credit score. But the reason you don't want to just be late 2, 3, or 5 days is because that the credit card companies are going to charge you a late fee. So even though it's not going to negatively impact your credit score, you're still going to be assessed like a $30 or $35 charge, which is kind of crappy. So whenever you have a bill payment, make sure that you make that payment on time. And if you do happen to miss 1 or 2, it's okay, don't freak out. Call the bank and see if they'll give you a one-time late fee waiver. Personally, I've had a ton of success with 1-time, 2-time, 3-time, and even 4-time late fee waiver. So don't be hesitant to call the bank and just ask. Step number 2, make sure the total amount of debt that you owe a bank is relatively low. Credit utilization accounts for 30% of your total credit score. The credit utilization formula is quite simply the amount of money that you owe over the amount of total available credit. For example, if you're like me and you have 10 or 12 credit cards with a credit limit in aggregate of over $100,000, you want to make sure that you're keeping a credit utilization of less than 20%. Meaning, if I have a $100,000 credit limit, I want to make sure across all of my cards, I'm not carrying a balance over $20,000. I try to keep that number less than 5%. I really don't like hanging on to a credit card balance because first of all, even though I'm gonna make payment on time in full, it just doesn't feel good. And in addition, having a higher credit utilization number can actually negatively impact you. So typically I recommend as soon as you charge off your credit card, turn around and make that payment. Keep in mind that a credit card is not your money. I know it might seem like you should willy-nilly charge off that $5,000, $10,000 because you have a high limit, but at the end of the day, if you don't actually have the money or you plan to just carry a balance, that's not only just gonna negatively hurt you from a credit score perspective, but it's just gonna make it so much harder to get ahead in life when you carry $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 of credit card debt. The third step is your average age of your credit accounts. So this basically is as simple as that. The longer you have accounts, the more credit worthy that the bank is going to deem you. What that means is you should typically obviously try to open credit cards as early as possible. I always recommend if you're 18, if you can get one right when you turn 18, that is gonna be so helpful for your average age of credit history because obviously you have a longer credit history. The average age of your credit history accounts for 15% of your total credit score. Now, here's a pro tip. Very, very common misconception I hear from folks is you should never close a credit card because once you close it, you lose that average age of credit history and it's gonna negatively impact you. The fact of the matter is, and please feel free to Google it because nobody seems to these days, if you close a credit card that is in good standing, that account will continue to age on your credit profile for up to 10 years, meaning it's still gonna be calculated in your total average age of your credit history, giving you the positive benefit. The only way that it could negatively impact you is if you always carry a really, really high balance, right? So your credit utilization is kind of high, and that card, let's say, had a really high credit limit. By closing the card, your credit limit shrinks, but if you are always carrying a huge balance on your other cards, that could negatively impact you. But remember, in step 2, we want to make sure that we're keeping a low credit utilization. So if you follow step 2, then step 3, in terms of actually, closing cards, then that's no issue at all. Another pro tip for folks who might be opening maybe a handful of cards a year and really getting into the credit card game, it's actually okay to close your credit card because not only does it still continue positively aging, but if you reduce the total number of credit cards available to you, then in essence, if you take average age of credit divided by the total number of cards, well, you're gonna get a larger number. So for folks that are kind of in the credit card game and really opening a fair number every year, no worries at all. Step number 4, as it comes to credit, there's actually a whole ton of different credit. I mentioned earlier that we're only gonna discuss credit cards. Credit cards are a revolving debt. The other type of debt you might want to carry is actually installment-based debt. So things like an auto loan, a home loan, even student loans. These are installment debts, which means that payment is generally fixed every month because you went and got a loan and you have to pay it back. Whereas with credit cards, it's revolving debt that you can cycle, and obviously it's going to vary based on how much you spend. Having a healthy mix actually accounts for 10% of your overall credit score. That being said, it is only 10%, so don't go out of your way to buy a house. It's not a huge factor. Nonetheless, I want to make sure that you're at least aware to it that credit mix does account for 10% of your total credit score. Step 5. As it comes to your overall credit profile and credit score, 10% comes from hard inquiries, meaning every single time you might seek credit, someone's gonna go and pull your credit report just to check, hey, are you a responsible person? Are you credit worthy? Should we actually give you the money? When it comes to credit inquiry, I myself at one point had applied for maybe 10 cards within a year. I maybe got a 20, 30, or even 40 point ding. I don't quite remember, but all I do know is after about a year and a half, my credit score was up 50, 60, 70 points from that because again, right, when it comes to utilization, having more cards is gonna help with that because utilization accounts for 30% of your total credit score. A pro tip though, if you really wanna minimize increase, because this one gets me so much. I was doing a live the other day and someone told me that they were getting an auto loan. They already had a pre-approval letter from a bank. It wasn't the bank that the car dealership was recommending them. They went in with the pre-approval letter for this amount, and the car dealership, for whatever reason, pulled their credit 6 times. That to me is just, it makes me so angry. Honestly, it makes me angry because why are you pulling someone's credit when they've already shown you that they have a pre-approval from another bank? And this type of stuff it hurts consumers. Like, I get it, like, it's 10%, it's only a 20 or 30 point hit, but what if that person was at a 760 and all of a sudden you pulling their credit, now they're dinged down to a 740 or 730 and they get a worse rate? Now what? So my recommendation for every single person, because I have it done, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, go on and freeze your credit report, period. With your credit report frozen, nobody can access it unless they say, hey, excuse me, ma'am or sir, we would like to access your credit report. And once they ask you that, then you can have a conversation. Why? Why do you need to access it? Why are you pulling my credit report? In that way, at least I feel like it gives the consumer back some power. Don't worry about having it frozen. It doesn't mean that your credit score can't move up. Having it frozen just means access. So if you have your credit report frozen like I do, your credit score can still increase or it can still decrease. It doesn't really matter. It's just so that you prevent people from accessing it without your explicit permission. Step 6, bonus step. Please feel free to tap that thumb icon to help spread the good word if you found any value of anything I just described for you. This has been an amazing video and I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Please let me know in the comment section below. Do you hope to one day achieve an 850 credit score? Are you considered what would be the exceptional bucket, the very good bucket, the good bucket? I'm really curious, and are you interested to go forward one category? My name is John and this has been What Card Wednesday, and I will catch you next Wednesday. Peace.